So you want to be a dungeon master?
So you want to be a dungeon master?
So you want to be a DM?
Name some feats, okay? Feats.
So you want to be a DM?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, we're sitting down with friend of the channel, professional game master on Start Playing Games, volunteer at the local library, TTRPG designer, master homebrewer, Paladin Main, and star in our next actual play, Kids on Jetskis, as Tina Plotnik. It's Dan Kok. Not only are we getting to learn about Dan, but we're also going to be taking a look at the D&D phenomenon that is homebrew. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I am thrilled. I was so thrilled to play a game with you, and what a joy it is to also sit down on your show since you've been on my show before.
Yes.
And it's so great.
Yes, one of the
spread love.
co-hosts at College of Creation. Go check them out. An incredible podcast. You could probably find it, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, everywhere they find podcasts.
Everywhere you find your podcast, every single
Nailed it.
place.
How did I know? Well, let's jump into the episode. But first, always gotta be a first. It is our time to show off a little bit. We talk a lot of shit about people who need ChatGPT to give them ideas. So we're gonna showcase some of our homebrew flexing muscles. We have a random wheel here that I have put, give or take, 20 different super random items of things I saw around me when I created it. What we're going to do is each of us are going to spin on this wheel and we're going to create a homebrew magic item in real time. Now, of course, we don't need to get into the super specifics of mechanics or this and that, just kind of like what we're thinking. And I got a hard one. I feel like I got a hard one right off the bat. I got to be honest. I got blue light glasses.
I got to roll it right now. Spinning now.
Blue light glasses.
Okay.
What am I?
Yes. I got the same one.
I was hoping I was going to get this one.
You got blue light glasses also?
No,
I also
hat.
got blue light glasses. Should I go again?
Taylor. Yeah, go again. Go again. Just there's so many things on there. Taylor, what did you get?
There are.
Raccoon hat.
Raccoon hat. There was a picture of me at Wall Drug. Is anyone familiar? It's really specific.
Yes, I'm familiar with Wall Drug. Yes.
When you drive out west.
Yeah.
I was
gigantic,
at Wall Drug.
like truck stop, roadside attraction thing, huge,
kind
great.
of thing. Yeah. A lot of interesting things. I bought a very culturally appropriated Native American pipe.
They
Found
have
out
a
when I
lot
got
of that
home,
kind of
it
stuff.
was
out
decor.
there, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't smoke.
Oh,
Found out
yeah,
the hard way.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
So you just
Some of
set
the
it on
fur and
fire.
feathers caught on fire too. Not good. Not good. Not good. The corncob pipe I bought at the Nebraska fucking tourist place, though, the Palace of Corn or whatever it's called, that one worked. Anyway, we must move on.
Great.
Dan, what did you get?
I ended up with basketball.
Basketball. Okay.
Basketball.
Now, the beauty of this is that you can kind of just take that keyword and then do whatever you want with it. It doesn't need to literally be a basketball. I got blue light glasses. Obviously, the thing I'm thinking of immediately is like blue light glasses are this invention that are supposed to supposedly protect your eyes from the blue light of screens, whether it's your phone or your laptop or something like that. So part of me is just thinking about anti-Gorgon glasses.
Ooh, okay.
Stopping those kind
That's
of
fun.
vision-based petrification things. You're going up against some what are they called? Obviously gorgons or medusas or whatever. Also basilisks and the like. Whatever it may be, throw these glasses on. Problem solved. You can still look at the creature,
Nice.
not worry about petrification.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
It would be rad. I think I would make them like, for the sake of something that circumstantial and yet kind of powerful in those circumstances, there's a part of me that's like, do I make it require attunement? And we're going to talk about some of these questions that homebrewers have to think about. Like, does it require attunement? What level rarity would we put this at? Is it a number of uses per day kind of thing? Maybe like the glasses eventually turn to stone after being hit so many times or whatever, like, I don't know. That's my first thought, is some kind of protective goggles.
I get
for that. What about you
I like it.
guys?
That's fun. That's fun.
Dan, you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'm mulling it over. I don't have
Okay.
all the mechanics yet, but
Say
I
no
do
more.
think. Yeah, go ahead.
Raccoon hat. It's a hat that looks like a raccoon.
Mhm.
I like it's definitely going to be an attuned item, like an attuned wondrous item that gives you all of the properties, like all the skills of a raccoon. So
Of a
sleight of
raccoon.
hand,
Yes.
stealth,
Beautiful.
climbing,
Dark vision, maybe.
dark vision, and also I'm gonna give 1 charge a day. You can turn yourself into a raccoon.
I love
Nice.
that. That's a
Yeah,
really
like it.
fun and flavorful item that I think people will
yeah,
love.
I
Like
saw
if you
that
like
on the
raccoons.
list, and I just went like this the whole time.
That's
I was
good,
like,
that's good,
raccoon
that's
hat
good.
sounds so cool.
Amazing. Okay.
It's like the Tanuki suit from Mario.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Getting. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have done a squirrel suit homebrew. It was the same idea. It was like, what if Mario Tanuki suit was invented in Appalachia? So it was just like, look at this squirrel suit.
I think with a basketball, we got to do something that when it get passed to you, you can't actually move anymore. You gotta bounce it around the
steps.
battlefield. Or so you have 2 steps. You can move 2 squares on your turn, but that's all you get. You can't move anymore on your turn. But if you have it, you get to do something like a ranged attack or something like that with like a bonus 2 damage or something like that. No, I feel like maybe this is a spell. Maybe this is a spell. You summon a basketball that then you can pass around to your allies, granting a bonus to whoever currently has it, but
But
they
it
have to
also-
reduce their
I
movement to
like
only
that.
2 squares each time. But you get a
really
little
smart.
pass around a little ball of bonus to allies around the battlefield.
I like that a
love that.
lot. I remember doing rec basketball and having coaches be like, everybody's got to touch the ball once before you're allowed to shoot.
Exactly.
And it's bringing that to mind. Wow.
Yes, that.
I like that a lot. That's really fun.
There you go.
I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. Is it you who's working on or doing some kind of sports-based TTRPG thing?
I have been trying to. So I do run games on Start Playing Games, so I have all kinds of ideas all the time for like new games or short mini campaigns that I kind of want to do in a variety of systems. D&D is sort of my first primary system, but I always want to like at least create the opportunity for people to like jump into alternate systems and like try it out for a miniature campaign or things like that. So I have been theory crafting and trying to get things tuned in and figuring out when I'm going to do it for a game called Varsity that is a sports anime simulator kind of TTRPG. It has elements of like Blades in the Dark, dice pool stuff. It has elements of like Powered by the Apocalypse kind of playbook sort of structure, but kind of is its own thing. And just seems like a ton of fun. I love the intensity and the drama in sports animes that is like it is almost like combat in many ways. Like it is treated with the same level of like intensity and high stress. But it's just high school sports, and I love that.
Taylor, I love that because Taylor just sent me a clip recently on one of the social medias of a game of Rocket League, that like little teeny video game where you play a car and you're just pushing a soccer ball around the field into goals. But it was done in the style of Jujutsu Kaisen, where like it kind of freeze frames and then you hear the voiceover, the anime voiceover being like, and at that point he used his special ability, but I already was ready for it. I had been training for months. And it was just like so extra. And you're like, I love this. So funny. Hell yeah. I love
that kind of vibe for sure. So yeah, I'm also trying to figure out what sport it should be. What's like the best entry point, but also what would be a fun one to do. And I think I have landed on Ultimate Frisbee.
Whoa. That's sick. That's
I
sick.
like it. I like it.
That's so cool, man. Okay. God, we're gonna get into tangents before we even get into the meat of the
No,
episode.
you're good,
right?
yeah.
I did a game of Ultimate Frisbee in our Taylor and I
Mhm.
home
Yeah.
game.
Awesome.
But it was called Ultimate Hedgehog because you're throwing a hedgehog instead of a frisbee.
Mhm.
And it took place in the Feywild. All of the players had to get shrunk down so that they could play with these little pixies. It was the Sealy Court versus the Unsealy Court. And of course, because of the way that I'm trying to force the players to play, it was like the Sealy Court was like, help us. Jeremy and Ron, they got sick. We need players. We're down. We'll have to forfeit without your help. It was like, all right, fine, we'll do this. So they come in and help. And I tried to do the rules of Ultimate Frisbee where it was like, if you have the hedgehog, you can't move. You have to pass it. It'll be a series of like a ranged attack versus a dexterity saving throw to catch it. But then you can't cause damage to each other. Like you can't just like kill the opponents, but you can use like hold person or slow or something like that. And it was really, really fun. It was silly and it was fast, but it was fun.
Yeah. Sounds delightful. Sounds like a great time. I love building like competitions and like sporting events and things like that into games wherever I can squeeze something like that in, like a competition that's not combat, but like you can use those combat elements to make it
Exactly.
happen. Very fun.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's get into the meat of the episode. But before we do, really quickly, I simply must bring up the Patreon. Gang, have you checked out the Patreon yet? If not, why not? You could have listened to this episode 2 days prior with no ads on our Patreon. Link in the description. Check it out. We have our next actual play coming up. March 19th is the premiere. I don't know in relation of this episode coming out. It may have already come out, in which case go to the YouTube or the podcast. You'll find the audio and video versions of the episodes. In addition to all of that, we also have Action Surge. At the end of each of our actual play sessions, whether it's Kids on Jetskis or back through any of our seasons, all of those have a post-session table talk with the casts and myself where we sit down and talk about the session. We talk about the season. We talk about our characters, inspiration. Sometimes we go on tangents that are unrelated. So you'll get to not only meet the characters and the cast, but also get to learn about what it takes to kind of come up with these actual plays and stuff. So check it out. Link in the description. Patreon. Go for it. Now, let's get into the meat of the episode. So, I did a little bit of digging, Dan. I talked to some people that you consider confidants.
Oh, really?
And they told me, and by they, I mean Michael Barlos, who was one of the people on the random wheel. You could have gotten Michael Barlos on the wheel. He was on there.
Was he really? Wait.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so upset that I didn't roll that.
was.
I'm so upset that I didn't roll that.
He was. There was a lot of things on there. Tap water, AAA batteries, measuring.
Your homework for the episode.
Goodness.
Yeah, your homework for the episode is to make him a magic item, like turn him into a magic item.
I am fully going to add to our prompt list for the show. Just make something based on each other.
It's such a fun
adding
idea.
it now.
I think that's awesome. So I have heard that a kid, a small child, has once asked you to give their D&D character Black Razor. And so my understanding is that you said no to this. And so I have to then follow-up question, why are you so against the rule of cool, Dan? What's going on?
Sounds like a big
Gotcha
old funny
journalism.
Gotcha journalism.
Yep, you got me there. You got me. Yes. So I run bi-weekly D&D at the library at which my wife works for 3rd to 5th graders and 6th to 8th graders. Many of them only have heard of this game ever from like maybe their parents used to play like 3.5 or something, or they heard about it on Stranger Things. That's a very common one. And they just want to see what it's all about. So a lot of them come in with very little information, and then they get so excited about it, and then they go and get the books. And I support that, and I love it. But then they find things in the books that are incredible and that they want. And so they ask me for things like Black Razor when they are level 2 characters. And you know what? I will cop to this. You're right. It's not cool to just keep things away from your players that they want and that they think would be fun.
Right.
However, I will answer this very silly question in a serious way and say,
Please do. Yeah.
I think what happens so often when you're dealing with new players, especially with young players who have been socialized male, that there is a tendency towards you want to be the main character and you want to be the hardest, edgiest, darkest, Batmanist motherfucker. Just because that is like such the power fantasy that has been built into you from all of the media that is geared to you as a male youth. And I really try with these kids to hyper focus on the idea that this is a group game. This is a game for not just you to have your cool moments, but also your friends who maybe you're meeting them and this is the only time you interact with them. Some of these kids don't go to the same school, so they come and this is the time every 2 weeks where they interact with each other. And they're building these friendships, they're building these relationships. And I really want to hyper emphasize this idea that like this is for all of you. This is the thing where you get to work together, where you get to like build those relationships where you're supporting each other, where you're reveling in each other's cool moments as much as they're reveling in your cool moments. So I don't want anybody to ever like be so much the main character that like they take up all the air in the room and the quieter kid over here who doesn't want to ask for Black Razor, who just wants to like have this cool like fantasy time that they have in their mind, and deserves to have the same level of feeling like a hero in their experience. So you're not going to get Black Razor unless everybody gets Black Razor. You know what I mean? Like, we got to start small and we got to build those neural pathways and those habits before we know how to use Black Razor properly, which is to protect your friends and to support everyone else's success.
Yeah. I think that's super fair. Obviously, it was kind of a joke question because I just found the anecdote very funny, but I do think it's
a very
an important
funny
note
anecdote.
because it is kind of like an interesting balancing act as game masters or dungeon masters when it comes to things like that. It's like, I want to give my players the world, but like because of the fact that we're not 100% improving a story with no mechanics and no guidelines, like we are using a system that therefore, because of the rules and maybe even just the physics of the world that you're building, like there are things that will cause me to say no to certain questions, you know, like, or requests. And like, for people who don't know, Black Razor, I'm looking at the 5e stats for Black Razor. It's a legendary greatsword. It gives you a +3 to attacks and damage rolls and stuff. And then it has a Devour Soul ability, Soul Hunter ability. It has sentience. It can concentrate on the haste spell, so you don't have to concentrate on haste once a day.
Hey, Justin, I've got a question.
No, you can't have Black Razor.
Damn
See
it.
how easy it is, Dan? We can do it together.
It's so easy. Why do you hate the rule of cool? Because actually, I think Taylor knows what he's doing with Black Razor.
I'm level 15.
I think Taylor can handle it.
Even at level, it's not that Taylor can handle it, it's I can't handle it. Neither can the villains. So it's like, I've already given Taylor too much. So Taylor's home.
They're right.
We're gonna get on a huge tangent on this, but I've taken the Javelin of Lightning and amped it up a ton so that it levels up with him a little bit. So like, not only can he use the lightning ability multiple times, but also he can teleport to where it lightning bolts to as part, like ride the lightning.
Oh, that's dope. That's so good.
So he's
that's
fine.
great. Yeah,
He's
that's really great.
fine. So
I
I
love that.
understand. I was going through some of your profiles and different things. One of the things said that like, when I'm not DMing, one of the things I enjoy doing is listening to my album collection or listening to albums.
Indeed.
So
Yes.
talk to me about I've recently begun collecting vinyls and like listening to music that way. I really like it for a handful of reasons, but I wanted to ask you, what is it about listening to music on a record that is just different than
Uh,
iTunes or,
yeah.
MP3s?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of things about it. I grew up with a very like music focused household. We're
Really?
all singers. We're all yeah. All of us play at least one instrument.
Whoa.
Both my parents and all this stuff, and they had us going into musical theater. Like my
Dang.
family was involved with a like a local theater group that only did Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. Are you familiar with Gilbert and Sullivan operettas? You might have heard of like
Yes.
HMS Pinafore or the Pirates of
Okay.
Penzance.
Yes, yes, yes.
What's another big one? Anyway, those are kind of a couple of the big ones, but they have a bunch, right? And so
Okay.
this theater troupe would only do those, and my dad was the lead in those a bunch of times, and my mom had been in them and stuff like that, and so like music was always a really big part of our lives and our experience, and a huge part of that was me getting really into especially my dad's music taste. He always had really great taste in music. Um, Lots of, great musical songwriting. He was kind of a deadhead back in the day. He loves James Taylor, Paul Simon, Bonnie Raitt, all these
Wow.
like, Americana kind of stuff. So got really into that, and so we always had a CD changer in the car, and we would listen to albums primarily all the way through, um,
Whoa.
on road trips and things like
Hmm.
that. Right? You're not shuffling. Occasionally, you'd shuffle the whole thing, but like when you got like 6 albums in there, like and you're shuffling around songs, like the vibes can get weird.
Yeah.
But
Oh
I always
yeah.
really enjoyed listening to an album like front to back. There are a bunch of albums from childhood that I know by heart. I know what song comes next just because we
Hmm.
would listen to them so often in the car. And so I really attached to that idea that like an album is a piece of art unto itself. That listening from the front to the back of an album is an experience
Mm.
that's worthwhile and different than listening to just a handful of songs or even a
Hmm.
greatest hits
Hmm.
from an artist, right? Um,
Well, because there's
and
little
so
touches like almost in between the tracks.
yeah,
As one song's fading out, the other one's fading in. There's stuff in there that you miss if you're just cutting in and out of it.
yeah,
Not to
yeah, and
mention,
like
it truly is like the artist's decision of which track goes like
Right.
in what order and stuff like that.
sequencing is huge. Yes, sequencing is massive to me. There's a huge chunk of time in I would say like the early to mid 2000s where sequencing kind of goes out the window because of the rise of iTunes and everybody buying
Mm.
single tracks
Hmm.
that you can pull out some albums from like between like 2005 and 2010 to 12 where like it's so front loaded with all of the hits and then the back half of the album is just garbage because sequencing wasn't the
Hmm.
point there. The point
Right.
was get them to buy the album, they listen to the first 3 songs and they're like this is great, and then they maybe
Yeah.
you get through the whole rest of the album, but maybe you don't. But like we had Tom Petty's Full Moon Fever on all the time in the car as a kid, and there's a point halfway through the album where Tom Petty's voice comes in and it's kind of a joke, right? Where he says like, "Hello, CD listeners. We've reached the point in the album where people listening on vinyl or on cassette will have to get up, move over to the record player or tape deck, and flip the album over. So, in respect to those listeners, we will take a moment here before we resume the album." And then there's just some silence for about 5 seconds, and he says, "Thank you, CD listeners." And then it goes on to the rest of the album.
That's
But
so
it's like, okay, that's a
funny.
funny
That's
thing that
That's
like
awesome.
hilarious.
it's part of the album experience, right?
Hmm.
So that's a huge part of it for me. Is just like I love, you put on a record, you cannot skip to the song. Like you can, but like, the concept is not to skip to the song that you want. You don't want to find the groove there. Just let it ride from
Hmm.
the outer to the inner. Flip it over. Listen to side B. Right? It's a full experience unto itself, and even each side can be a full experience unto itself. I mean, take Abbey Road side B, which is a whole experience unto itself. Um, so all of that is huge. But then also, I've gotten really into, especially in the last handful of years, owning my media again, controlling what I consume, what I listen to, what I support with my money, because the money that I use to buy albums goes to the people who made that album primarily, right? And it shows my support of the artist directly. Whereas if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, yeah, they're getting cents on the dollar, but like it's my support of them is so amorphous. It's in the cloud somewhere. Like it is what it is. And so the more I can find ways to directly support an artist, either by buying MP3s directly from them, if they have Bandcamp or something like that, or just buying the physical media from them, feels better to me. And having that collection that I control, that I get to decide how it works. No algorithm is telling me what the albums are that I listen to. I get to choose based on my taste, based on what I like, and what people that I like recommend to me. So those are kind of the two biggest reasons that I think it is great. And like, say what you will about sound quality, whatever. I'm not a huge audiophile on that front or anything like that. It is what it is. But I just feel like analog is just it attaches me more to the experience.
I agree wholeheartedly. I've made this comment about analog when it comes to note taking and like D&D character sheets. Like I prefer pen and paper. I like the connection that it forms when I'm taking notes, hand to paper. I feel similarly about albums. There's like an intentionality to it. Like you're choosing the album to put on the record player and stuff, right? Like you have to consciously make the decision, I'm going to listen to this. And I just think there's something beautiful in that. I also think that it is a really good, for me, I similarly but different to your situation with growing up in a musical family. Like I grew up in a family that like my dad just loves music. He doesn't play music. He tried playing the guitar. I think he learned how to play Horse with No Name, and that was it, because it's like fucking 2 chords. And they're like easy chords to get between, they're like, it's not much. So like that was all he learned. Couldn't do that at all. He dated a girl that we lovingly refer to as Jude Cat, who would just sometimes sing in our living room. And we would be like, me and my sister would just be like, God, this is terrible. Jude Cat's here. God, get me out of here. It's awkward listening to her sing. And we just have to pretend like it's good. But he loved music, loved the Beatles, loved like 70s, 80s, 60s. And that was the only reason I got into that kind of music. The only reason I know who Tom Petty is, not, I'm exaggerating, but like I've listened to Frampton Comes Alive, that live album of one of his concerts where he does a lot of the voice
live album
thing. And it's an incredible album. I would never have known that. You know what I mean? I would never have been listening to that, or Conway Twitty. I don't fucking know other than the Family Guy jokes. Like, I don't know who Conway Twitty is, And so it's like all that kind of stuff is so cool. I like that connection to like the past and like your own childhood kind of, and being like, oh, I remember listening to this and stuff. It's just really cool. I just have such an appreciation for music that I didn't always have. I think, I don't know, when podcasts and audiobooks became like really big in like, 2015, 2016 era, that it was just like, I stopped listening to music a lot, like in the cars. I was just like, I got swept up by the entrepreneurial Gary Vaynerchuk kind of bullshit of being like, every second of the day can be productive. It's like so stupid. Like, no, music can be productive. Relaxing can be productive. You're being silly. But speaking of work and like getting things done, you are a game designer. I know that you have like designed, I mean, like, I consider it game design. I don't know if you feel differently about the term or what, but you've created games before, or at least like started creating games. And like we have is there any games? I mean, you already talked about Varsity actually at the top of the episode, so I suppose that's a game that you're kind of working on the back burner kind of thing.
I'm tuning it up, but I didn't create it. It should be noted. I didn't make that game. That's somebody else's creation that I will find right now and tell you who made that really quickly because it's important to me to make sure
No,
that I'm
100%.
crediting people when they do work. This game is by Rosemary McLean.
Okay.
Yeah, team sports role playing game. So that's not my creation. Although tuning and fine tuning, even homebrew, I do consider that game design, right? Like you know, even like you say, just making the adjustments to the lightning javelin is game design to a degree. You're designing a piece of the game. So yes, I am a game designer, but I have also made full games. Not my primary thing, but I have.
Amazing. And so I have to then follow-up question ask whatever happened. I probably had talked to Taylor about this when it was closer to it happening. Like 2 years ago, maybe we did a play test for a game that you were kind of working on at the time
this conversation.
with with a deck of cards.
Yes.
And each of the suits had different qualities. The numbers obviously means different things. And it was truly improv. It felt so freeing. There were mechanics involved, but it was like I remember starting the playtesting session, and it was like, so what do you guys want to? What world should we set this in? What time period? Like there was like it was so open. So then I decided that it should be in a submarine because I just liked the idea of the like kind of claustrophobia of the whole situation of being locked into a very tiny locale. But then somebody else decided that it was like, oh no, it's the end of the world. And the reason we're on this submarine is because we need to find the cure or the thing that will help us. And it just got crazier and crazier. There were giant squids. There was romance. There was sacrifice.
Yeah.
It was such a fun game. Whatever happened to it?
So it still exists. I haven't actually published it. I should really put it just up on itch or something like that. Because it's still. I made some adjustments based on the 2 playtest sessions that I had of it with my wonderful community. But yeah, I mean, I call it divergence because your character is shifting throughout playing the game. You have a hand of cards that represent like what your character has available to them, and so when you draw your first hand of cards, that kind of defines what kind of character am I playing. Spades being intellect and cunning, so if you have a handful of spades, you're more resourceful mentally and with your intelligence. And, the other suits kind of mean those different things, but then as you come up with against challenges, you're playing those cards out of your hand to use those resources to overcome those challenges, and then after you've used that, it's gone, and now you draw another card to add back to your hand, which continually means that your character is using something, but then each experience and challenge that you go through means that you're taking something away from that experience too, whether it's more knowledge, whether it's, something in that experience has pushed you to be able to overcome maybe a future challenge in a different way than you might have taken on this challenge. I wanted to keep it really open in terms of like how you could decide to set it. It's really setting agnostic. It's GM-less as well. You can have sort of a referee, sort of somebody guiding it, but it's meant to be just like very, like you say, very improv and very like each person should be kind of coming up with the next thing. So you're also drawing cards from the deck to find out what the challenges are that you're going to be facing. So, as you go through, whoever draws whatever card, if it's a diamond, it's some sort of technical problem. It's something that's broken or something that requires tools or mechanics to fix or to overcome. And whoever draws that is the person who's going to decide, okay, what is that then? What is the thing that we just came up against? And so it's improv, it's just prompt based, and there you go. And yeah, I thought it was really fun. I thought it worked pretty well when we ran it.
I thought so too. That's the only reason I bring it up. I've talked to you about this, Dan, several times. It feels like every time we sit down, I'm like, whatever happened to that card game, man? Because I genuinely fucking loved it. Like, it's
Great.
not. There are times where I play like published games, and I'm like, yeah, it's all right. And like, I feel very strong about like certain things, but like, there was something about this game. I think it was just because like, I mean, what a flip from going like high level D&D to this in terms of the lack of structure in a beautiful and opening way, and not a like, I don't know. I just genuinely enjoyed that game so much. I think we also like had the benefit of having like some pretty good players in that playtest.
Yeah, it was great group,
so fun
as well.
But
yeah, I mean, well, I'll tell you what, Justin, I will put it together, and I will put it up on itch or Drive Through RPG, and I will send you over a link so that you can add it to the description notes of this episode. I will make that happen before this episode goes up.
We'll do something. So we'll figure it out. Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play it again. Okay, so where does Sir Dr. K come from? Your internet handle.
Yeah. So I have a unique last name. As you might imagine, it gave me some trouble in high school.
I totally get that.
Why?
The pronunciation of it is to our English language ears a little funny. And so that created interesting experiences in high school. I'm also the younger of two brothers who were going to high school at the same time. So we were definitely Big Cock and Little Cock at the time. We were both in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Luckily, my younger brother, we didn't cross over as heavily in high school. And also my older brother exists. So there was a certain point where he became Little Cock and I was just Cock. I didn't have any modifiers onto it. But, Cocker Spaniel, I got all kinds of things that were... There was a time when I was really bothered by it, and then I decided to just not be bothered by it anymore. Because that made it better and survivable. And so, I would lean into some of those things. And I had a friend who, again, in one of these conversations, just brought up for some reason or another, I don't remember why, that it would be funny if I got my OBE or whatever from the British.
God.
And I would be Sir Cock, and that would be funny. But then also, what if I also went ahead and became a doctor? I would be Dr. Cock. What if I did both? It'd be Sir Dr. Cock, and that's funny. That's funnier than just being Dr. Cock or just being Sir Cock. It's funnier to be Sir Dr. Cock, and then forever. That friend called me whenever he would see and even after high school, we would cross paths here and there and stuff like that, and he would just Sir Dr. Cock. Every time. Still to this day, I think he would call me that. He's a great guy. He's actually on. He has quite a large following on TikTok. His name is Chris Petty. He was a flight attendant who got fired for. He failed a drug test, a random drug test at one point, and then they ran him through this whole rigmarole of okay, you got to do rehab then for you got to rack up 50 meetings or whatever before we'll consider bringing you back in. And then he did it, and then they didn't rehire him. They didn't even give him the opportunity to reapply for his job. And he told this story over many, many days on TikTok, and that was fun. And people love him, and rightfully so. He's a great guy. But yes, he is the one who christened me Sir Dr. Cock, and that has just been my name everywhere forever. And then I just shortened it to the K to circumvent certain other potential issues around content moderation and automatic algorithm stuff online nowadays.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
They'll catch
very
my last
real.
name not infrequently, thinking that I am just doing like a cheeky misspelling to try and get it past the moderation things. So
That's ridiculous. Yeah,
it is.
I definitely can understand that. My last name is Galliani, Gag. The second G is silent. I had a lot of people making fun of that in life, differently than your situation, just because of, it would just be people saying gag, and it would be like, okay, wow, hilarious. And then, like, I remember in college one time, a friend of a friend, like somebody that I barely liked, one day called me DJ Gag Sauce as like a insult joke nickname thing. I don't know what this Seth guy was going for, but that was his play. And I remember being like, that's actually kind of funny. I was like, damn. And now that's my PlayStation 5 handle. So if you ever get killed in Call of Duty by DJ Gag Sauce, it was your boy. It was me.
I lucked out in the last name thing. I don't know if we're all talking about last names. Mine's Hellstrom, so I never really got. Yeah, I didn't get mocked for it. There's a lot of Hellstorms.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it was pretty dope actually. No, I got made fun of for a lot of other things, but the last name wasn't one of them. Yeah, I was a very strange kid. But yeah, Hellstorm is pretty rad.
Yeah,
I just wanted to brag about my last name.
It's cool. No, it is
pretty
cool.
Good.
So Dan, I know that you volunteer at the library. You mentioned that you're teaching young kids how to play D&D. Why do you think that that's important? What do you think D&D, maybe not specifically D&D, but tabletop games in general, what do you think that they can teach not just young people, but just people in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's just a really good outlet for a lot of kids who maybe don't have a great, they don't have a lot of other outlets for social activity. A ton of the kids that come to my groups are, showing early signs of like neurodivergence, or like, that they're, maybe the kind of kid that I used to be, who was a little nerdy, like didn't have a whole slew of friends, not super involved in all of these other extracurricular things that people get into. And I think a lot of the kids that come, they need an outlet to express, some pieces of their identity that they're still figuring out. Especially kids, I think, can really benefit from being able to step into the shoes of somebody else for a while, because that will teach you about yourself. I got one kid who, at first, when he was coming, I didn't know much about him, and now he's, he has made it very clear that his character is gay, and I'm like, great, that's fine, like, good. I don't know what that like meant. Maybe that's teaching you something about yourself. And I like, and maybe that's not about anything other than you just like think that's an interesting choice, but like,
truly,
whatever.
yeah.
Like, I'm just here to provide the avenue for you to do something that you don't feel like you have another avenue to explore in your life, maybe. And maybe you do or whatever, but like, I think it's just valuable to have that as an outlet when you're young and when you're kind of learning how to be a person in the world. And then I think also for everyone, I think, like I said earlier, this is a group game. This is a game where like you are there not to be the sole hero, but to support your allies, to like find ways to work together, to problem solve, by combining your strengths instead of relying just solely on your own strengths. And I think those core ideas of empathy, of teamwork, all of that stuff is just really good to build a baseline for. In addition to, like I said, like a lot of these kids don't see each other on the regular. They don't go to the same schools. They maybe don't participate in the same other extracurricular activities, but they're building relationships outside of their like typical social circle in a way that exposes them to all kinds of other people and all kinds of other stuff. So I think that's just like really great, especially for that age group. But I think for everyone, it can help support empathy. It can help put you into the shoes of somebody else and like understand what it is like to experience the world from a different perspective. That's never not going to be valuable.
Totally agree. I think that it's really awesome that you're providing this safe place for people to, for kids specifically and youngsters to kind of like explore some things while also, you know, exploring themselves in a sense. Because like I can tell you as somebody who is now 35 and proudly out of the closet when it comes to being bisexual or being non-binary, I played a bi character before I was ever out with that part of my identity, and I played you know, femme and non-binary characters before I ever felt comfortable putting they them on my profile. You know, like it was through D&D that I was able to explore those and kind of just see how it felt to be like, to just say the words out loud, even when I'm doing a silly voice as a character and go, actually, I'm bisexual. Even just in a silly voice, it still was like practice almost of like, how does this feel to put this on? Like, I've heard you know, sometimes people like from the trans community, when they're like low key experimenting names, sometimes they'll either a D&D character or like a character in a video game, or even like they'll name a pet that name so that they can hear what it sounds like being called out by people, you know, like, and there's so many different little ways that we can sort of experiment safely and like with community. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful.
One of my players for sure is, you know, he started out and made a female character, and just, you know, having the opportunity for, you know, maybe somebody else at the table was like, wait, your character is a girl? And like, you know, or like referring to the character with like he, him pronouns, and then he is correcting them and being, okay, we're talking about the character, and like, you know, just me being there as the authority to respect that and be like, yes, I'm going to refer to your character correctly, and I'm also going to make sure that everybody else is like not going to, you know, there's no need for them to question that. That's a choice that's as valid as any of the other choices that you all are making. And
love it.
And we're just going to like go with that. And again, I don't know if that is this kid working through something or other, or is just like, you know, whatever. Like, you know, me, myself, I'm playing Tina Plotnik in Kids on Jetskis. And I can, you know, come out very straightforwardly that I am about as like straight white man as you can get. You know, but I do think like there's still value in just like experiencing what it's like for Tina to exist in the world as her. She's a different person than I am, and maybe there are aspects of me in there, but like I'm respecting that she is a fully formed person of her own. And it might just be that.
Absolutely. Wow, that's awesome. Well, okay, so now we ask everyone this question. Dan, can you think of a TTRPG that you think deserves more love or more attention, or more people should try playing this game?
Yeah, I really like. So I've got a couple things here. One is that I will always stand by. The game Fantasy Age is really good. Really modular, super fun system for a fantasy heartbreaker kind of thing. If you know, enjoy the world and the vibes of D&D, but you want to move away from the system itself, I would give Fantasy Age a try. I was introduced to it with way back in the day, Will Wheaton's Titan's Grave series on Geek and Sundry channel with Hank Green, Laura Bailey, Allison Hayslip, and Yuri Lowenthal as players. I know, it's a great cast. It's a very cool cast, and it was a cool show. But that was my actually first game that I ever ran. I started running a campaign of Fantasy Age, that I was encouraged to like write my own story for by the players. They were like, we don't want to play the module thing that they played on the show.
Of course,
we want
right.
to play whatever you want to do. So that was fun, and I think it's still a great system. They just recently, in the past like 3 years, came out with a second edition, so they updated a bunch of stuff, and it's really fun, worth checking out. But outside of the like fantasy heartbreaker space, I think that Fate is an incredible system that does not get enough love. It is a really good storytelling game. There's a bunch of different like things you can find online that are like flips of it and ways to adjust it for different settings. It's super modular for different settings. It's kind of like Apocalypse World in that way, where like you can take the basic mechanics and you can dump it into a specific setting. The abilities are defined by whatever setting you're playing in. So if you're not playing in a situation that has like guns and firearms, you don't have a guns skill. But if you are playing in like a modern setting, you might have a gun skill, you might have a tech skill, and things like that. And it's got the coolest mechanic ever, which are aspects. So every person, every like PC, NPC, and every scene or location has aspects that are sometimes hidden. Sometimes players have to kind of uncover what that is, but they're just descriptive roleplay based ideas. You can come up with your own. You can use ones that are in the like the published or semi-published materials that are creating settings. There are often aspects built into there. But what happens is like you have these fate points, and you can spend fate points to basically manipulate or pull on an aspect of the scene or of an NPC that you're trying to interact with. So say an NPC's aspect that you have uncovered is that they are quick to trust. That can be one thing. Usually it's like a little phrase, quick to trust. You can try and pull on that to get them to give you more information by spending one of your fate points. Now also the referee, the game master, can pull on your aspects, can try and manipulate you, make things worse for you by saying, yes, you are here for a good time. Great. That means that you might be more susceptible to someone, like if you start to, like, if you're gambling or something like that and you feel like you're on a hot streak, you're going to be drawn more towards that. You might start to lose yourself in that moment. And you can either accept that penalty to whatever's happening in the scene and you get your fate point back, or you can say, no, I'm not going to accept that. And you have to spend fate points to overcome those things and to get rid of them off of yourself. So it's this fun little interplay that's really role play based and really like, the interpretation of the little phrase is really open. So if a player can make a good case that this aspect means that they can do this, then it sort of pushes everyone to think kind of sideways at the problems. I think it's just really fun and cool as a structure and as a thing. I love awesome. a setting agnostic system so much.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've never played it, but one of my favorite book series has a TTRPG that's based off the Fate system. Not Stormlight Archive, but the Dresden Files has a Fate-based one, and I love that series. And it's all like, because the whole setting's so rad. It's like private investigator in modern day Chicago, but also wizards and vampires and fucking werewolves and shit. It's such a cool setting.
Really cool urban fantasy stuff. I ran one in a published material called Spirit of the Century. So it's like, turn of the century, all kinds of like, crazy stuff like prohibition and proto-Nazis getting shot out of the sky in biplanes and all this crazy stuff. But I also added this urban fantasy aspect to it of like, there are vampires, there are werewolves, there are crazy stuff that are, following those same places like the prohibition and the bootlegging lines and stuff like that are all part of the world and stuff like that. So that's really, really fun.
Hell yeah. I love urban fantasy. I mean, Sphinx City is
It's
our
great.
first
Yeah.
actual play
Urban
and
yeah.
a setting that we fucking love. So it's like, I love that shit. So, okay, getting into some
Super fun.
TTRPG stuff. Obviously, we've already been dancing
Yeah.
around it the entire episode pretty much. But you mentioned Tina Plotnik, the character that you play in Kids on Jetskis. An absolute, everybody fell in love with Tina from the first episode. The second that Tina says that, like, quietly gets accused of murder, and Tina's response is, no, I'm not cool enough to do that. And that was the
Not cool
Murder's a
enough.
cool
everybody was
crime.
like, everybody breaks, everybody starts laughing. And to the
I
point where,
don't
like,
know where that came from. Truly, I don't know where that came from.
it was so
The
fun.
heavens.
It's the name of our first episode. The premiere episode is called Not Cool Enough for Murder. And I
That's
put that clip in the
hilarious.
trail, like in one of the trailers that'll come out, just because it was like so funny. And it gets referenced in the rest of the show, truly, because it was just like such a funny ad-libbed moment. But I was curious. So Tina Plotnik, tell us a little bit about Tina and who they are, what trope they kind of are, and their
Yeah.
role in this mystery. It's like a coming of age, mystery, comedy, intrigue, all of those things. Did your time homebrewing and just being creatively minded in general, what did that add or teach you in creating Tina or like playing Tina?
Gosh. I mean, it's interesting because Kids on Bikes is not a super mechanical game.
Yeah.
It's pretty low on mechanics. Like really your only things that you can mess around with are like how do you spend, and like what do adversity tokens get you, and can you get more, can you give more, can you use them for different things? But that's kind of the main mechanic that has any room to twist or homebrew or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think that creates an interesting thing where really, you know, as far as homebrew goes, I think the biggest inspiration was just like, you know, what are the mechanics that she can use, and like trying to lean into the way that I made her, because Tina Plotnik is, I'll start with this. Tina Plotnik is, came into my head fully formed when we first decided that we were going to do like a camp, like summer camp, like, kind of situation. Immediately I was like, there's a little girl who her like entire life ambition is to be a fully fledged camp counselor. That's it. And having like I went to a summer camp as a kid. So there's pieces of me in that where like
Same.
I loved my time at summer camp. That was where I interacted with some people and some friends that I didn't ever interact with the rest of the year. There were some other kids from my school that went to the same summer camp, and I wasn't like tight with them at school, but at summer camp it felt like the relationship was different. But also there were kids that I didn't know otherwise, and like it was a totally new experience to like be able to form short-term friendships there, with people who lived like in a whole nother part of the state, basically.
Yeah.
How cool, how fun. And also I remember really like feeling like camp counselors were the coolest people. Like they would be setting things up. There was a terribly dangerous thing actually in hindsight, that one of the nights, you know, there was a whole like camp counselors versus campers game where the camp counselors were like hidden up this like hill in like dark clothing, and they had socks full of flour, that they were hiding, and the kids had to run up and be finding stuff and bringing them back down the hill, to like get enough of the thing before the time was up or something like that. It was like, you know, you have like half an hour or something. And they would be hiding up there, and if they hit you with a thing of flour, you would like, your clothes would be like big puff of flour. You would be like, you know, you would be so visible immediately, and then you would have to run back down and tag the camp counselor that was there, waiting for you before you ran back up to get your stuff again. And I always thought that was the most fun because the camp counselors were so cool. They were like, they got to do this cool thing, but not even that. They also got to do this cool thing where, you know, they take you up the hill and they tell you a scary story, and they, you know, they get to like have these kids just like worship them for like a week or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I really thought that's so cool. That's like, what a cool thing to be. And so I always like, maybe I could do that one day. And I just wanted to take that feeling and just turn it up to 11 of like, this is her life. She saw her camp counselor being like, oh my goodness, I think you're the coolest person ever. And you know, they're like 18-year-olds or something. Like they're
Yeah.
Barely,
they're also
barely
children.
Fully formed humans. They're also
I know. I think that's part of it. I think that's part of the idolatry, at least from, because I also did summer camp, but it was very much like, with the exception of like, you know, these 4 or 5 elementary schools all feed into the same middle and high school. So like, in a literal sense, yes, I'm seeing people that I wouldn't actually go to school with until high school, but like, it was local, it was small. You're going to this little park and getting dropped off by your parents, and then that day you get on a bus and you go to another different local park and then swim in a river that might have needles. Like, it's just terrible. But like, I just remember thinking that camp counselors were so freaking cool and they were awesome. And I remember always being like, you would hear about gossip and you'd be like, did you hear that like camp counselor Daryl, he just kissed Charisse or whoever, you know? And it was just like that whole thing of like
the hot tea all the time.
Yeah, like, oh,
you're really part of the action. You're really in the middle of everything.
But they're not adults.
There's a talent show. They're
I
not
think that's
adults.
one of
They're
the reasons
cool.
that they're so cool.
It's
they're like,
it's
like an authority figure, and yet they're cool. They're the cool RA. You know, it's like, hey, they're gonna let me curse, but you know.
Hey, Foley, this is who I am as a guy running games for the kids, right? Like I am the cool adult. Like they don't actually think I'm as old as I am. I think they think I'm younger than I am. But you know, they also like, you know, it's a cool adult who's like teaching you like this fun game with combat and orcs and like all kinds of stuff and like,
silly
how
voices,
cool, how rad.
Just like,
yes,
it's awesome.
I do silly voices for goblins and like, it's a whole thing. So they that's the kind of energy that I always felt coming off of the camp counselors. And I think it's just like, there's the trope of the person who like they live for camp, but I feel like that trope is often you know, it's the Sharpay from High School Musical, or it's the girl from the Addams Family movie who's like camp is their life, but that's because they are cool at camp. They are
big fish in a small pond
of the kids at the camp, right? And I just wanted to make it somebody who like, you know, she's not the cool kid. She's a weirdo, and you know, there's a little bit of sadness to her because like she makes these temporary friendships and she really hopes that they will be permanent, and then they kind of never are all the way. And so what she lives for is going back to camp, and what she really lives for is to be a camp counselor, because then I think she really believes that like that's a different level. You're not like you're not a peer with these people who they've got their own friends or whatever, but like you are the person that they're looking up to. And so like that feels more permanent. That feels more solid. And so that's the thing that she's going for and looking for. Yeah, she's a little bit of a bummer.
No, I think every character in our story has bummers.
But I also
even
think
though
she's
it's so comedy focused, it really did feel like each character had these levels of just heartbreaking backstories, like Caleb Stitch and his situation, even like some of the deeper things between Corbin and Dessa, the
Corbin
two popular.
and Dessa made me cry, man.
Oh my goodness, their relationship, as like we find out that they're friends when they were younger, but now they're enemies. What happened? Wait till you fucking find out. Holy shit. it's so intense.
Heavy. It gets heavy for a comedy show. But I think that like Tina has such an optimism and such a willingness to like give people a chance and like try and build those friendships because she so wants that to be real. She isn't really deterred by those things not working out in the past. She's always like, but it's still worth trying. It's still worth pushing for, and it's still like maybe this time it will feel different. And I do, no spoilers, but like I do feel like these relationships that are built over the course of this experience and this adventure feel different, right? It feels to her different, and I think I was so glad to like give her the opportunity to grow in that way and to know what like something that feels healthy and real feels like.
Yeah.
Because she's just a little kid who wants that kind of thing. It's great. It was a good arc that she had, I feel like.
Good. So many good arcs. I feel like everybody has great arcs in that series. But okay, so speaking of working hard and systems in place, homebrewing is something that I've realized we've already touched on it a little bit because like Kids on Bikes is so rules light and so role play heavy. Homebrewing something for that, unless it's like a setting, right? Because like you could just homebrew a setting. There's no mechanics necessarily involved. You could homebrew a villain that you guys fight or like a cryptid, and you could just assign the D20 through the D4 to the different stats and whatever. There's some things like that. But, when you think of like in D&D or Pathfinder or something, you're homebrewing magic items. You can homebrew subclasses, playable species. You can homebrew vehicles or monsters or subclasses, feats. There's millions of things that you can homebrew because that system is so chunky when it comes to mechanics. Something like Kids on Bikes, it doesn't really have the same level. So if you were going to homebrew stuff for Kids on Bikes, because I've given this a lot of thought as we sort of slowly branch out with our actual plays at the very least when it comes to things like this. So it's like, what are the things that you could homebrew for Kids on Bikes? Does anything come to mind? I will tell you off the bat. One of the things I think of is like Kids on Bikes has a mechanic in there for your age, where if you're a youngster, you get little things. If you're a teenager, you get like a +1 against like a charm check from an adult. So you're like, you can more easily like say fuck you to an authority figure. And also like if a little baby child comes to you and says, hey, don't do that, you have +1 because it's like, fuck that little kid, I'm a teenager. So there's something there about like about maybe there's like not like what would constitute as like a magic item that would maybe give a player. I would think of it almost in the same regards of like Kids on Bikes doesn't have a ton of like leveling up the way that D&D does. What if that level up was sort of represented through an item that would give you a +1 to this particular skill in perpetuity, or like maybe you have a +1 but more specific. Not every brains check, but if it's a brains check on this type of subject, you get a +1 or a +2 or something like that. That's my first thought.
I think you could definitely make items that give like situational bonuses, right? So like, if you have like there are lots of mundane items, right? That they're just normal things that it's assumed, oh yeah, you find a flashlight, great, you can see in the dark then. Like that doesn't need any mechanics attached to it. But you can definitely make other things that are like, in a situation where like you are dealing with this specific situation, right? Like you're making if you're making a flight check and you're on foot because you have Heelys. So you get, a +2 to your flight checks when they involve like moving quickly away from something or getting from one place to another, right?
Yeah.
Great, cool. Your bike isn't nearby, but it's okay because you have Heelys.
It only works on
like that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Right. You can make it situational where like it only works in certain situations, but it does give this bonus to your rolls if you're in that situation. I think the biggest way to homebrew, like you say, with the tropes, the character archetypes, basically, like those are really open to you making kind of whatever you want to make, because even the ones that exist, like they have like character building questions, and they've got a list of possible strengths. They're not but it's not like you can only pick from this list, or like likely flaws or whatever. The flaws also are entirely like narrative.
Role
They don't
play.
have mechanics. It's just a word to get your role play brain going. Yeah. But like your strengths, I think, are the thing that are like, this is a possible homebrew thing. So,
Absolutely.
you've got things like intuitive, where you can spend an adversity token to ask the GM about your surroundings, and get an honest answer. Right? That's cool. And Tina had the resourceful, which means she could spend 2 adversity tokens to have a like mundane normal item that she needed in the moment. She just had a bunch of pockets and a big old backpack. Just like, great. If I had 2 adversity tokens, I could spend them and I could just have the thing that I want to have. So I had walkie-talkies, I think.
Walkie-talkies, binoculars.
The binoculars was from Tina being resourceful. So things like that is where I think the biggest opportunity for homebrew is in kids on bikes. But it's so simple, right? Because they need to be really like simple and situational and not overpowering, because everybody's kind of, you're still kids, right? You don't have a ton of power. You kind of only have the few things at your disposal, which is fun. But I think that's where the best opportunity is for going full hog on homebrewing in kids on bikes.
Yeah, it's definitely
always the strengths.
It's and also making sure to put the situationality, if that's a word, into to where it's not like you're just giving them this extra strength. It's you get this strength in if XYZ is fulfilled. Like if you are making a check against a plant monster, then yes, you have an extra adversity token, or you can have a +2 on because you have a can of pesticide or something.
The same way that like the bicycle gives you another strength, but only if you're on the bicycle.
Right.
But like
would be another example.
That's so interesting in this game, right? Because you definitely don't want things to be like so broadly useful, or I mean, there are a handful of these that are pretty broadly useful, but there are at least half of them that are super situational. And I think that's really cool, because if you make something like that for like D&D, nobody's ever going to take it because it's so situational, and you need
when things are too.
You need to be able to like use your skills and your abilities in multiple different situations.
In combat, out of combat,
fighting, like
this and that.
Yeah, if you make an herbicide that like only gives a bonus against plant type monsters, like it might be cool in a moment or like for a certain section of a campaign, but after that, it's just taking up room in the inventory. Like it's not useful outside of that situation. So because of the way resource management works in D&D, across abilities and items and all kinds of stuff like that, like you can't necessarily fill your inventory with a bunch of stuff you don't need. You have to prioritize the things that are going to be broadly useful, which is so cool about homebrewing for different systems, right? You're going to focus on those different ideas of like, okay, this thing, it needs to be have broad utilitarian purposes for D&D, but when you want to homebrew for a system like Kids on Bikes, that idea goes out the window, and now you have to think in an entirely different direction.
And
Taylor, go for it.
I think that the main difference is the narrative styles of D&D versus Kids on Bikes. You can, when I have a bunch of restrictions built into a magic item, I'm going to try to shape the story to give myself that advantage. It's a lot harder to do that in D&D when a lot of stuff is already like set in stone. We've got a map, we've got spacing planned out, or the DM has stuff already planned out. Even if we're in like an out of combat section, a lot of that stuff, it's very hard to break that narrative in D&D as opposed to Kids on Bikes, which is real loosey goosey. You can kind of start shaping that stuff the way that you need to, just to give yourself that little bit of an edge in an upcoming encounter.
Right. And like with the fate system, when you know those aspects of the scene or of NPCs, you're going to do the same thing because it's a more collaborative system, because there's more opportunity for the players to shape reality. When you put those things in there, you create the opportunity to, change the situation so that you can get closer to using those things that are more situational, that are a little bit more specific. And it creates that collaborative back and forth with the game master in a totally different way than D&D.
So it sounds like to me, because I was about to ask this next question, but I think we've kind of answered it along the way. And so I might just move on to the next one. But let me just make sure that we're all on the same page. My next question was going to be kind of like, how do you figure out the numbers that are assigned to this? If we're using just magic items, let's say, broadly speaking, how do you figure out the numbers, the dice that should be used? How do you figure out that this item should be rare versus uncommon or requires attunement versus doesn't? How many charges it gets per day, what spells it can cast. And like, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody can jump in. It seems like it's just a question of like, well, what system are you creating this item for? Use what the system provides for you. So like for D&D, I would just open up the Dungeon Master's Guide, or, you know, hey, you can go to Google and type in wiki.magic items 5e and they'll fucking come up. But like, you could, you just look at other magic items and be like, hey, here's my point of reference. The Black Razor is a legendary, requires attunement greatsword. So I know if I want to make a legendary weapon, I can kind of look at the Black Razor as a template a little bit. Of course, I should change things, whatever. But it's just about using what the system already does. And then you're finding maybe where it is lacking, maybe what is it missing that you want to fill in, and why are you filling it in? And then you can start to ask those other questions. But it's like, if you create a sword and you're like, hey, here's a +5 fucking lance and it does X, Y, and Z and it casts wish all the time. You can take a look at the luck blade and be like, does this make sense? Like, am I making it kind of in line with some of the other items? And it doesn't need to be perfect, because we're all going to make mistakes, but also D&D makes mistakes. Why the hell is the Staff of Power very rare, but so is a +2 or a +3 sword or something? Like they both count as very rare, but one casts spells. The other one doesn't. The other one just gives you a +3. What do we mean? You know?
Yeah, like, I mean, the math does get fiddly, especially at higher levels when you have more opportunities for combinations with other abilities and spells and things. Like, you know, you just can't take into account every eventuality, because players are going to surprise you every time. You know, if you try and think of like, okay, how does this magic item's abilities work with haste? If somebody casts haste, okay, but what if also there's a grave cleric that has the ability to give somebody vulnerability to all of this damage? Does that screw everything up? Also, you can't do that. That's crazy.
I know
there are endless combinations on Reddit of like ways that players and with different combinations of class abilities,
speed of light,
can throw balance completely out the window. Similarly, there are a ton of monsters that are just like, CR is an absolutely terrible metric to balance encounters. So your math is going to be completely wrong no matter what you're doing. Your best option is to, yes, like you say, use a reference point. Luckily, there is so much content already available in the D&D space where like you can get a sense of like, okay, so based on this table, players of X level as a party should have this number of magic items of roughly this rarity. Okay, so I should look at character abilities kind of in that level to see if this spell ability or this item ability kind of matches with that level. And you can kind of get close to the thing. There's calculations you can do to see like, okay, how much damage on average does this spell do versus this spell that's a level higher? Okay, but how do we change that calculation based on how common certain damage resistances are? So like fire resistance is pretty common. Force resistance is not very common. So something that deals force damage is gonna be probably a little bit more powerful. But like honestly, it's trial and error. It's homebrewing, it's trial and error, or it's play testing and it's trial and error. And it's a willingness from you as a DM to put something out there that's not perfect, and a willingness from you and your table to play with something that's not perfect and be willing to adjust it if necessary. Right? I've made plenty of magic items that I've thrown to my players and they've used it a couple of times and it's like, okay, this maybe isn't working out as well.
Do you tell them as you give the item, like, this is subject to, here you go, this is subject to change?
Yep.
I think that's really important to do is when you are, especially if you're working with a player on something homebrew. Like I do that a lot. If somebody is asking, if if they're coming to me with a character concept that's like, I would really like to do this, and it kind of doesn't exist in the game exactly. Could we make tweaks on this other thing to make it happen? I've even homebrew before, right? I had a player come to me and was like, I want to play a fighter, but I want to play like a little bit of like a combat medic fighter. So I want to be able to move around the battlefield, and I want to be able to like heal my party, but not as much as like a magical healer, because I still want to be a martial primarily. So, and they sent me this homebrew semi-published thing, this a Sawbones subclass that we took and we adjusted, and we came up with this mechanic that like she was using her own hit dice to heal people when she was getting close to them, right? So she could go over to someone, she could use an action to spend her own hit dice to heal them, kind of like using a lay on hands pool, but instead she's like sacrificing her ability to heal herself later by doing that.
That's rad.
Yeah, so and you know, again, like it's subject to change. So you're like, okay, we'll try this out, we'll see how this feels. And at a certain point I was like, that actually feels like, to a degree, it feels like it's not as strong as we want it to be. Can we add a bonus onto it? Let's add your proficiency bonus onto what you roll on your hit die. Or I think we started by you allowing them to spend their hit dice. And that was like, well, but everybody's hit dice are a little bit different, right? And so you healing the wizard
if you're healing
feels
the
less
wizard
effective than you healing somebody else. So let's use your hit dice instead. Let's add your proficiency bonus onto it, so it feels like it scales as you get better and better at it, and as you get higher levels. So there's always those little tweaks that you might have to make throughout. But if you're, you know, working with your players on that, and if you're, you know, making it clear that like we can adjust this as we need to, and like something that you might be using and comfortable with using right now, I might look and see like, hey, that's really like blowing other characters out of the water in terms of your abilities. So let's scale this back just a touch. Even if it like, you know, with things like firearms, even if it like throws it out of balance, like, or throws it out of reality, it's more important that it's in balance than it is for, you know, it to be representing something really, really truly and narrowly. So I think it's always just a balancing act, and that's for any system. I think you always want to be upfront about like, cool, this is homebrew, and so, you know, we're going to see how it works. But also, if you can have a chance to play test things, do that.
Why
Get
not?
a group together just for like a one shot to play test all of your little things and be like, okay, that's crazy. We shouldn't actually use that.
That's actually wild.
That's actually too much.
Taylor and I are going
to, or like that's really low, or that's low power. That like, oh, that didn't actually like feel very good to you when you're using it. It like looks really cool on the page, but like functionally in a one shot, it didn't actually come up very often. It didn't seem like it was as useful as all of this other stuff that you already have on your character sheet. Well, is that okay for your class? Because some classes, like the subclass stuff, isn't important. It like kind of doesn't mean much. But for some classes, like, oh, that's the primary thing. We need that to be more. We need that to feel more like a rock, and more like a defining characteristic. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, Taylor and I are going to have to ask for you and Michael's help when we play test some Pokemon subclasses we're working on right now. We're planning on going
so
forward.
Many of those too.
We're going forward with a Kickstarter later this year where we've created a subclass for every class that are all Pokemon themed. Each class getting their own like type of Pokemon. So the Barbarian gets Fairy type.
Nice.
Because Barbarians can't cast spells when they're raging, but Jigglypuff can cast a spell while the Barbarian is raging.
Yes.
And that's funny to me. And like Paladin, Oath of Freedom, so bird type, because that's fucking just a knight on shining armor riding a fucking bird.
Griffin.
Yeah.
So we're working with artists. We've got things in the plan, and we have some fucking awesome ideas for one shots to play test. So I can't wait.
I cannot wait
definitely
to see
yes,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, the artwork is already so cool. I'm so freaking pumped for it. It's gonna be our first Kickstarter that we're going all in on.
Really
I mean, it's only gonna be
that.
a PDF only document because of tariffs with paper and stuff when it comes to publishing books.
Okay.
But it's like a good way for us to not only just like learn Kickstarter and like a crowdfunding thing, but also this silly idea. Everyone loves Pokemon. Everybody likes D&D. Put them together. Why not? We'll see.
Hey,
Legality
get
might be
put
an
those
issue.
Power
stretch goals
pets.
together.
Power
Pets.
Power pets.
Power
Pets.
pets.
You heard it here first. Copyright by us. And by copyright, I mean, please don't take it. Please don't take it. Dan, I understand that you have brought with us an incredible sponsor who has sponsored this episode. Would you care to
Yes.
give us a little blurb?
Yeah. This episode, thankfully, is sponsored by the Incarcerated Dice Abolition Network. So many dice have been wrongly incarcerated in dice jails across the country. For these are first-time offenders. These are dice who rolled a 3 on a mildly important check. This network is really pro rehabilitation and believes strongly that the carceral system for dice is just it's not helping anyone. We see all kinds of recidivism, and that's not because the dice are who they are, but they're coming out and they are going back to rolling 1s and 2s, and that's because the system has failed them. So they're doing all kinds of good work, getting working with lawyers to get working with rules lawyers, I should say, to get dice out of imprisonment, back into the rotation, so that they kind of learn again what it is to be part of the system, and can feel like they're contributing meaningfully to the rest of the dice pool. Really great work that they're doing. If you have some time to go and check them out, the good work that they're doing, and support in any way you can. Sharing the message alone is just really helpful. Really pro-abolition of dice jails all over. So really would appreciate your support. And thanks to your listeners for caring about this issue.
That's all we can get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at So You Want to Be a DM, or you can ask us a question at soyouwanttobeadm@gmail.com. If you liked the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, the Twitch, and our merch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hey gang, it's Justin. I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nub Muffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? Yazvi, the eternal library where color and community await you. Molly Adeza, who gets yet another level up. And there's Elijah, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Want to Be a DM.